over, I want to actually talk about a little bit of
Let's
outcome
do
right
it.
here. Let's
Let's
go
do it.
ahead and hit this real
Let's
quickly
do it.
here. So I had actually written down a couple different key points about the pursuit of a goal and goal creation. And some parts that I hit first is the reason you want a goal is because it gives you a long-term vision and a short-term motivation. So the long-term vision could be, the Joe 2.0. The short-term motivation could be on a daily, what are you going to do about that?
Say that one more time. I want to make sure I got that.
Right. So a purpose of a goal, one of the purposes is it gives you a long-term vision with short-term motivation. And you could break down, let's say it's a 4-year goal, 1-year goal, 6-month goal.
And you said earlier today that some of my problem is that long-term goal is too strong. It's too challenging. It'd take me too long.
And this is what can frustrate people. So for some people, they have a great goal. Let's say they want to get $1 million, or they want to get a new house, or build a business. That sounds good until your mind says, "Who do you think you are?" And now you feels like willpower. Who do I am? Maybe it's a backstory you believe. Maybe you don't think you get resources in front of you. Maybe you don't feel like you're disciplined enough. Those will always play against you. And we're going to go down this, what I call a checklist of making sure you have certain things in order. Plus, I have what I call some extra bonuses on here. That's going to make it more than just goal creation. The second thing you want to do is goal creation is important, is it allows you to actually write down and get clear about what you're going after.
Can I do that on myself, or do I need somebody like a coach to help me so that I don't make it bigger than my eyes can handle?
You can do both.
In my case, I made a mistake, and it was actually too small.
Yeah.
But at the time, I didn't think it was too small, right?
It could be. I'm not sure if it was too small or just the fact of you got comfortable in it.
Right.
That's a difference. Because any goal, no matter how small it is, could be a fun goal.
I gotta have the next one.
Right, you can.
So it might have been the right goal, got me where I wanted to be. My problem was I
Right.
didn't go to the next level.
And you didn't give yourself credit.
Okay.
So we'll talk about that too as well. So the reason you want to get clear about the goal, one, it gives you sharper focus. It influences yourself as well as others. And that's another thing too. Willpower has a time limit. So a lot of people think, well, I'm just going to do it on willpower and keep going after it. Willpower is very, very short. Usually the day gets ahead of you. You need to have a discipline of a schedule while you're going after it, and then the next steps. The other reason a goal is important, the goal creation is important, is it gives you clarity to both what you need to be focusing on now and also what you don't need to focus on. And here's what's important. What most people do is they focus on what that goal means to them. But it also gives you really clear focus on, I don't focus on these certain things. In other words, if your goal is to make $1 million or to build a business, you're not going to focus on Nick and Night. You're not going to focus on these other things that don't serve that goal. You'll ignore them. You'll get rid of them. You'll go, wait a second, this doesn't serve me for my goal of why I want to get it. Now, here's how we do it, step by step. The very first part is you have to know what the goal is you're going after. That's number one. And I have some subpoints to this. So the very first is what is the goal you're going after? Then you want to do a timeline. When do you want to reach that goal? Okay, so it could be a year, 6 months, 2 years, 4 years, whatever. As you're going along, you also maybe want to list what are the milestones to achieve the goal.
Now that gets a little tricky.
I
got the first two, right? I can see people.
Right.
I see small business people.
Yes.
They'll set some goals.
Right.
Most of their goals are,
right,
in my view, this guy from the outside looking in, unreasonable.
Yes.
To me, I know how a business grows,
Right.
and when I see somebody say I want to do $3 million in the first year, I kind of know the odds of that are less than 2%.
Right, and so that's why you come in. To let them know. But this also allows you to set what are the milestones. Instead of doing that, if you really want to do this, then what do we have to reverse engineer to make sure that we do this on a monthly basis, a 3-month basis, a 6-month basis, a yearly basis? What do we have to do? The other part, which a lot of people miss, is what are the resources do they need to have to achieve that goal? Could be from different people around them, business partners, role models, reaching out some other different way, networking. What is it you have to do? And if you were to be ultra creative, how could you become that person? What is it you need to do to attack it? So that's the very first. That's just getting clear about what it is you want and how you're going to attack it. Number 2 is the most important part of this, and it's the part that you lost. Why? Why is the most important part of the goal? Because you have to write down the very first thing is, why do you want this goal? And this is where you have to be very, 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 very clear about it. You could say it's about the $1 million, but it may be more than that. It may be about, I could do this to support my...
A lot of us don't know the why.
Right. And you can tell. And that's why their goals suffer.
And I didn't know that till I met you, that I didn't know. my why wasn't really. Now, listen, it's interesting. I am the most relaxed when I'm looking at the lake, right?
Right.
That's just me.
Yes.
I've learned that.
Yeah.
I'm 60 now. I
Right.
know that. I'm a lake guy. Some people like the ocean. Some people like the river.
Right.
I'm a lake guy.
Yes.
Right. I didn't know that back when I set that goal.
Right.
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 So the why back then probably was different than maybe
100%.
the why
And it
is
will be changing.
now.
If you wanted to become a different version of you, the why will change anyways.
Right.
That's good to know. So be very clear. And this has to compel you, even when you're in bed and you're like, I don't want to get up. I'd rather sit out in my happy place and have a cigar. Nope, I got to get up and do this. I'm not doing this anymore. I'm becoming this person
My
for
why
this
has
reason.
to be important and focus.
And it
keep
has to be
focused.
bigger than you. If it's self-serving, it's not going to last.
Give me an example of self-serving.
Self-serving is anything where you're only really focusing on you and not the greater good. A business has to be not just for the business, but if you make a business that is so good that people, when they come to you, they become raving fans, you will do
Right.
everything for them and they will see it.
Right.
If you're looking to do this to be in shape, it's not just about being in shape, it's making sure that you're around for your family, your kids, your friends, your relatives, and being a good role model for them as well. That's bigger than you.
Right.
If it's spiritual, it's doing certain things in those levels. It's never about look at me. It's always about what can we create? What can we do? How can we give and grow? So,
That's interesting because for a small business person, that's an important piece of
Yes, it
advice
is.
I give them. Whatever business you start, it really does have to offer somebody a
Right.
solution, a
That's
pleasure,
right.
or
Right.
something.
Right.
Or they're not coming back.
Right.
Right.
It has to be able to solve a pain
Right.
and give them pleasure and something where they can become
Right.
a raving fan. Chick-fil-A does this great.
Right.
Love them or hate them, people know who they are and what they do, and they accept one thing from them. They're good at the one thing, and they maximize on that. You also, when you're with the why, though, here's one part that's missed. What happens if you don't go after this goal? What are the ramifications? Not everything that's good, but what's going to cost you if you don't go after this goal? What are you going to
Oh,
lose?
that's an interesting question.
Oh, absolutely. Because now you're going, well, I can go after the goal and you can think all the reasons why you do it. But what if you don't? What's it going to cost you? Is it going to cost you your family, your self-esteem, discipline, growing, reaching others, becoming that person you want to be
Right.
to influence others? As a parent, as a business owner, as an athlete. So what are the costs if you don't go after it every day? And that has to be known, it has to be felt. So you're like, you don't lose grip of that at all.
Right.
The stakes again are what if I do this and what if I don't? Has to be in there. And who do you have to come? And here's the other thing too. Who do you have to become to make that goal happen? When we go back to Joe 2.0, you had to become someone different to go to the next level. If you're in business,
that's a true statement.
Yes.
The Joe sitting on the recliner
Yes.
watching a football game, eating
Right.
a pizza,
Right.
was a completely different guy
Right.
than the Joe that looked forward to getting on the bike, plugging up the headset, and listen to a book.
Right.
That's an interesting statement that I want everybody to hear.
Yes.
And I enjoyed both.
Yes.
Right.
Well, yeah, and you can't do that. Well, here's the
that's
thing.
right.
When you look at people who did this, either Richard Branson, a Steve Jobs, Tom Brady, Michael Jordan, they had to become someone bigger than them to reach that goal. Because
Right.
if they remained who they were at that point in time, it would never happen. They would be frustrated. It would be a maybe someday. It would never, ever go that route. Number 3, and this is the third final part before I get to extras, but we can kind of look at that after the commercial, I'm
Okay.
thinking.
Okay.
Is the extra is I want you to, when you have your goal and you have your reasons why, the very next thing you can do, which is the most important, is take your next smallest step. What happens for a lot of people, they get the goal, they get the why, but then they get frustrated. $1 million, I haven't made more than 50,000 or 100,000 this year, or I've already failed out of 3 businesses. What am I going to do? That is the next step. Small step is maybe it's getting an LLC. Maybe it is talking to people who you can network to grow a business, or some different business leaders and stuff. You're always thinking, what is my next smallest step?
This is what I do. I'm curious if it means the same thing what you're describing. Matter of fact, I told this to Julie years ago. When we sell something,
Yeah.
go buy something for yourself.
There we go.
Because I've learned, right, that if you don't give yourself some joy, some pleasure,
Yep.
some that a boy,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
In business, all of a sudden you wake up and you won't remember the positives
I
because
agree.
all of the negatives just keep beating on you.
That's one of my extras, by the way. That part right there, and I call it I'm gonna tip the box a little bit. It's called auditing the goal.
Okay.
So that's one of them under there. So I won't do it yet because I
All
want to
right,
make sure people come
I got
back.
a check mark on that.
There we go. We're going to come right back to that one. Here's the second thing. The reason you want to make a next small step is people are worried about failing, but feedback is the breakfast of champions.
Right.
And that's what you want. You want to make sure you do small steps, learn what's happening so you can make the better step forward, and we'll come back to the rest. Here's what
So,
we're doing. The whole
okay.
topic was about goal creation and how to go off after it. We talked about why it's important to have a goal. What is the goal you're going after? Getting clear about it. How about being the why being the most part of the goal? Not just why you should get to go after the goal, but also why not? What if you don't go after the goal? Is it going to cost you? It's getting very important about that.
That's an interesting thought process.
Yes.
Because I am the kind of guy that would not think that way.
Yes. Well,
right?
you have to think that in business, you would have to sit there. If here's my current customer.
Oh, well, you're right.
What
You're
would
right.
what would a customer want? But what on the other side? What if it goes wrong? How do I do this? What would my brand be? What would my strategy be?
I stand corrected. You are right. Julie and I have these strategy conversations and emails back and forth about marketing, and the question is, if we do nothing,
right.
We will not. We won't be number one.
You'll be known for nothing.
That's right.
Right. If you don't stand for anything, you will be known for nothing. So get good at the one thing and be able to go on with it. But I'm going to go back now to take action now. Feedback is the breakfast of champions. But here's the other thing I want to add to this.
Feedback is the breakfast of champions.
100%. And I'm going to go follow up with that is be open to any feedback that serves the purpose of the goal and embrace it. Don't let your ego be your amigo.
Are you telling me the same businessmen and women that I know that are just ultra successful, right? Exception. That have this drive that I can see.
Yes.
Are you telling me that they also are constantly looking for feedback also?
The best ones are. The best ones will do it. It doesn't. And most people are like, well, that you'll hear a lot. People in business are. We'll kind of say it this way. It's just the way it is, and everyone else can just deal with it. Okay, fine. It's good to have a purpose and a decision for your business. It's good to have who your ideal client is and serving them, but not being able to embrace if things change, if times change, if technology changes. You better be willing to go, okay, what do I need to know now to capitalize and make sure we're moving forward in the next 1, 2, 5, 10 years, and be okay with that. Adjust the goal accordingly.
I can't imagine how hard that must be. To be Michael Jordan or Tom Brady. And looking for feedback from who? Who's going to give you that advice?
They get good at it, right? Because you and I, we mess up. Most people don't know about it.
Right.
They mess up. Millions know about it, and it's on repeat.
Right.
So there's a strong internal force of this is who I am, and this is what makes me good. In fact, I was working with a client today. Don't just beat yourself up. Talk about what are the different successes that you've done in your life. I don't care what they are.
Right.
Know what they are. Write them down and be good at them. Not so you can go, look at me, I've done this. It's when we're stuck alone, and you and I talked about this, we tend to be very hard on ourselves. The part of the problem is we have an ego.
You know, when you come over to the house and I get you a drink and a cigar,
yes.
You're the guy that reminds me of all the stuff I've done.
Right.
That to me, it's just like, it's done. It's over with, right?
We have great conversation.
Move on.
Yeah.
And you're the guy that says, well, I don't think you should move on. I think you need to build on top of.
There we go.
Right.
Yeah, it be a part of this, and we can do this. It's inclusive of each other, and each is a building block. Now, before I kind of want to go into some what I call the extras, and the first part of an extras I want to talk about is auditing the goal. So I want you to make it a habit of auditing the goal. Do you know what I mean by that?
Yes, I do.
Okay, what do you think I mean by that?
Well, in my case, I'll set some, whether it's sales standards, networking standards, people I want to meet.
Yeah.
Like there's a certain amount of people I want Julie and I to meet and have contact with on a monthly basis, right? So for me, I'll kind of measure that.
Nice. There we go.
That's my way of are we moving forward? Because in our world, you can't just measure sell of a business, because that process could be a 3-year process.
Yep.
Start, educate, market, and then sell, right? So for us, there's got to be things in between.
Right. It's about going back and looking back at it and going, okay, this is how I did it 3-6 months, a year ago.
Did I pass that test or did I fail it?
Great. No, I knew it from you, but I want other people to hear that.
Right.
That's all I was doing with that.
Okay.
Also, another thing you can do is, again, it's the feedback that we're looking for when we audit it, and be willing to be accepted. Doesn't mean you have to take their opinion in, but if the winds are changing, notice what's going on. Say your sale differently. Don't try to go stubbornly into the wind and expect to make progress.
Right.
It allows you to see what is working and what's not. We talked about that, where you want to make milestones. The reason milestones are important there, because if you miss a milestone, Maybe there's something you can learn about it. That is more its weight in gold when you have a failure or a setback than anything else.
Well, in my case, what I try and do is myself personally, and in the case of Julie and the other people we have working for us, even we have third-party people that we hire, social media, contact people, and that sort of stuff, and we pay for them to learn something.
Yes.
I think it was just 2-3 weeks ago, I read a book. And then I sent Julie the book and said, hey, let's make sure all of our people know about this LinkedIn book and that sort of stuff. And so for me, I am measuring all of them based on how they're trying to improve personally and professionally.
Right.
Now, that's a perfect
And that's
thing
part
for
of the
me.
thing you do, and that's what you learn in business.
Right.
It's kind of hard to have someone go into business, what should I do? There's a lot. But as you go, you learn. And that's where the gold is going to be in that word. I'm going to go to what I call the extra, which is the kind of the cream of the crop, the things that really make the goals going after fun. We talked about this before, but I'm going to say it again. Who do you have to become to get this goal happen? And what a lot of people do is they get very strict. I have to become this person, I have to become disciplined. But maybe you also have to have somebody who can have fun. Maybe you're someone who can be curious. Maybe you're someone who can also be playful in that goal. Because if it's always about discipline and hard work, you're never going to enjoy it, and you'll miss out on everything along the way.
There has to be a moment to enjoy what you're doing.
100%.
Right? I mean, we get up in the morning, you got to look forward to something, right?
Right. Right. If you're going to be gone away from your family, you're doing what you love, then you better figure out how you better learn along the way and actually look at it that way. This gives me the ability to go after something, to have fun, to become more, to go after this. Another thing is give it a theme or a chapter. So a theme could be, this is the adventure, or this is the.
Yeah, you taught me that.
Right. Give it something where in your mind, oh, this is the, I had this chapter over here, but now this is the resistance. I feel like I'm in Star Wars. I've got Darth Vader and the Empire coming after me. What can I do differently? Now I can see it differently. I can show up differently. I can maybe be in my mind, a Spartan. I love Spartan. I've done a couple of them.
I've actually done things similar to that when I'm talking to clients. We find a buyer and we're moving to the next step. Because in my world, it's these mini negotiations, right? It's not over when you get an offer, right? It's the beginning.
It's a long run.
And so I'll come up with some sort to my clients. I'll describe to them, okay, we're in operation, whatever it might be, tiptoe or whatever it is. And so I'm describing to my clients what they need to do for this section of the process, right?
There we go.
And next one is Operation Talk a Lot. Now I want you to give them a lot of information, right? That sort of stuff, right? And so I learned that from you that I have to hand them sort of these moments in time to succeed. This is what we're going to do for the next week or two.
This is where you get out of your side of yourself. Right. You may look at it as boring. They're seeing it as brand new, and you're the guy.
Right.
Now, here's the other part I want to say in there. What kind of story can you give it? So people want to go right to a strategy first, but I think, there's other people who've talked about this. What kind of story is this? Is this a story of I've got to work long hours? Or is this a story where I get to be something bigger than what it is? What is the new story? And then create chapters within that.
In my case, I got to be careful that Columbo questions are coming, right?
Right.
This is a mystery story.
Right.
Be careful because they're absolutely going to pin the murder on you if you're not careful kind of scenario.
You could take that and go, okay, maybe I'm Indiana Jones today.
Right.
Now anything that I see becomes an adventure. It becomes, oh, look at this. I planned on this. This happened. How can I utilize this? What can I do? What can I go after? And then the last one is, what would you have to believe to make this goal happen? And this is where you get to audit your beliefs. Auditing your beliefs is very, very, very important because your beliefs are really kind of an unconscious thing. You don't know them. And what it does is, here's what you have to become to believe something. Here's what the current beliefs I have. Here's what I need to change to. And this is the way I'm going to do it.
Okay.